Now here's Miles with our chart of the day. And no surprise, guess what? It's Apple.
It is Apple. So the chart that we are looking at here comes to us from Ben Thompson of Stratechery. I would encourage everybody interested in Apple and the tech world to check out his website. So the purple line is absolute revenue growth for Apple. We see that it has accelerated, or for iPhone, excuse me, over the last year. It has split away from the blue line, which was unit growth. For a long time, essentially, Apple made as much money selling iPhones as it sold iPhones. But now that they have more expensive phones, they've broadened their line, and we now know they will stop reporting iPhone unit sales. That is where we've seen this breakaway. And so Ben's piece that he had out this morning was essentially saying, you know what, Apple getting rid of the iPhone unit sale breakout is fine. The story about Apple is its overall revenue trajectory with services, with Watch, with everything around the iPhone ecosystem. And so I think this chart is kind of getting at why we're seeing that new future for Apple, where they don't want to talk about each iPhone they sell. They just want to talk about how much money they're making in general.
I like that chart. The only thing is, like, that the unit growth definitely looks flat.
Well, I think,
and
yeah,
for a while.
Well, I think the story that we talked about it earlier in the show, the story that kind of came up all at once last Thursday when Apple reported results is that, yeah, unit growth has been flat. For a long time, it was not something we were talking about. All through 2017, we're seeing flat iPhone sales. No one was discussing the fact that they were flat, really. That is when we were talking about the China expansion. We were talking about the growth in services. That's when Apple first highlighted services as a Fortune 100 business back in this area. And now the new story is that unit sales are flat, but revenue from iPhone is increasing because we have more expensive phones, we have a broader line, we have the big screens, all the things we know about Apple. And that kind of justifies, again, the idea that they're moving away from talking so much about how many iPhones they're selling each quarter.
I believe in the services story. I believe in the ASP stuff. I believe, like, look, I've got music and I've got cloud and I've got that. But at the base, you still have to have the phone. Like, will you ever be part of the ecosystem if you don't? So isn't that a knock on the growth? Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that can just continue to grow. Well,
so in Ben's story this morning, it was about Apple's social network. And he brought up, the idea that they're having these events at the stores that are being attended by a lot of people for how you use your Mac better, how you use your iPad better, how you use your iPhone better. Obviously, the price of admission to that essentially is buying a Mac, buying an iPhone, buying an iPad. Now, Apple having community events at its stores is not going to make up for the fact that this blue line, iPhone sales, is not increasing. But it does speak to the future of where Apple goes from here. I think they are just going to be monetizing their existing user base, make sure it's as sticky as possible, right? We have Mac computers sitting in front of us. I have an iPhone. You have an iPhone. Probably not going to get rid of that.
I have a watch.
Yeah, you have a watch because you think it looks cool even though it doesn't.
I like this watch.
I think, like, all that stuff, the Apple tie-in universe, the goal for the company, the story for the company right now is making that even tougher, like an even stickier bundle. Not that it isn't already, but instead of talking about absolute unit growth, it's just how much more revenue are you getting out of your user. ARPU, right?
Yep.
Talked about it with Netflix. Talk about it with Apple.
I like the chart. Good chart of the day.
That was the first one. We got to do this every day now. So, I hope we got some good ones in the future.
And you got to stand. You got to stretch your legs.
Well, right. All I ever wanted to be as a kid was a wearman. So
now you're set.
This is obviously
now you've got the chart.
Right. Yeah.
We're good to go.